during early summer, Friday evening. A beautiful, spacious lakeside vacation home. The family rented it for their annual reunion, and it's the perfect spot. Surrounded by tall pine trees, with a clear view of a sparkling lake, the house is cozy and filled with family laughter. Family members from all over are arriving, giving each other hugs and catching up, excited to spend the weekend together. Sarah Coleman is a hard-working woman in her mid-30s who's looking forward to relaxing and reconnecting with family. She's a devoted wife and ambitious in her job. The reunion is a chance for her to unwind and hopefully reconnect with her husband, who has seemed distant lately. Michael Coleman, Sarah's husband, who works in finance, is charming and used to be very attentive. But recently, he seems preoccupied and a little detached. He's often on his phone or staring off into space. Sarah hopes this weekend will help them rekindle their connection. Rebecca James, Sarah's boss, a confident and well-respected woman in her early 40s. She's successful, charismatic, and has a strong presence that makes people pay attention. Sarah has worked with Rebecca for years and really admires her. Rebecca was invited to the reunion as a family friend, which adds an interesting twist to the weekend. Sarah has worked under Rebecca for years and always respected her as a mentor and role model. Though their relationship has mostly been professional, Rebecca occasionally gives Sarah advice and encourages her career growth. Sarah is thrilled to have her boss meet her family, feeling proud to share a little of her personal life with someone she admires so much. As the sun begins to set on Friday evening, the family gathers on the deck overlooking the lake, enjoying barbecue and drinks. The mood is lighthearted, with the scent of grilled food filling the air and laughter echoing around. Children are running on the lawn, and adults are gathered around the fire pit, sharing stories. Sarah moves between groups, checking on everyone and helping her mom arrange food on the deck. She feels happy and content, looking forward to a weekend free from work. As the evening goes on, Sarah notices her husband, Michael, and Rebecca chatting near the deck railing. Michael seems more animated than he has in months, laughing and leaning in as he talks to Rebecca. Rebecca, too, seems engaged, laughing warmly at his stories. Watching them, Sarah feels a mix of pride that her husband and her boss are getting along so well, but a tiny, uncomfortable feeling creeps in. She tries to ignore it, reminding herself that they're just enjoying the reunion, like everyone else. Later, Sarah joins Michael, Rebecca, and a few others by the fire pit, listening to the stories being shared. Rebecca compliments Michael on his career, and he seems flattered, eager to tell her more. Sarah laughs along with the group, but she can't help feeling slightly left out as she watches Michael and Rebecca. She brushes off her unease, convinced it's all in her head. As the family reunion continues over the weekend, Sarah starts to notice something unusual between her husband, Michael, and her boss, Rebecca. It begins with small things. When Michael makes a joke, Rebecca laughs a little too hard, almost like she's trying to impress him. Sometimes, Sarah catches Rebecca lightly touching Michael's arm when they talk or standing a bit too close. At first, Sarah tells herself she's imagining things. Maybe she's just tired from her busy work schedule and feeling a little insecure. After all, Rebecca is someone she looks up to as a mentor, and there's no way she would cross any boundaries with Michael. Sarah tries to shake off her worries, thinking she might just be jealous. Despite her efforts to dismiss her feelings, Sarah can't shake the sense that something isn't right. She keeps reminding herself that she's been under a lot of stress, but deep down, her intuition is telling her to pay attention. The little moments between Michael and Rebecca keep happening, and every time she sees them together, it makes her more uneasy. She knows she should be enjoying the reunion, but instead, she feels on edge, questioning everything. As the weekend goes on, Sarah becomes increasingly observant. She watches how Rebecca seems to hang on Michael's every word, laughing at his jokes with a warmth that feels more than just friendly. Rebecca leans in closer to him when they talk, and sometimes her hand casually touches his arm, which makes Sarah's stomach turn. During one evening by the fire pit, Sarah notices Michael and Rebecca standing a little away from the group, deep in conversation. She can't hear what they're saying, but she sees Rebecca tilting her head toward Michael, looking at him with interest. Michael appears to be enjoying himself, his eyes lighting up as he speaks. These little interactions, Rebecca's laughter, the way she looks at Michael, the gentle touches add to Sarah's growing suspicion. Every time she tries to convince herself that it's all in her head, another moment makes her think that maybe something more is happening between them. The laughter and shared glances feel too intimate, leaving Sarah feeling confused and anxious as the reunion continues. It's late Saturday night, and the family reunion is winding down. The sounds of laughter and chatter from the gathering inside the vacation home fade into a distant hum. Sarah finds herself unable to sleep, her mind racing with thoughts of Michael and Rebecca. She feels restless and decides to take a walk outside, hoping the cool night air will calm her nerves. As she strolls along the path by the lake, she enjoys the serenity of the moonlight reflecting off the water. However, as she nears a secluded area, she hears voices. Curiosity piqued, Sarah steps closer, trying to make out what's being said. To her shock, she realizes the voices belong to Michael and Rebecca. Hidden behind a cluster of trees, she listens as they speak openly, unaware that Sarah is nearby. Her heart drops as she hears Michael confessing to Rebecca, saying how thrilling it is to have their secret affair. Rebecca responds with excitement, talking about the thrill of sneaking around and how exhilarating it is to be with him. They share laughter and intimate whispers that cut through the stillness of the night. As the truth sinks in, Sarah feels like the ground has shifted beneath her. The betrayal of her husband and her boss pierces through her heart like a knife, leaving her breathless. She can't believe what she's hearing. The feelings of love and trust she had for Michael are crumbling in an instant, replaced by a deep sense of betrayal. Heartbroken and devastated, Sarah retreats slowly, her mind in a whirlwind of emotions. She can't bring herself to confront them. The shock leaves her feeling numb. Instead, she quietly makes her way back inside the house, her heart heavy with pain. The laughter from her family feels distant and hollow now. Inside, Sarah feels a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Thoughts race through her mind. How could Michael do this to her? How could Rebecca betray her trust like this? She grapples with a torrent of emotions, each wave crashing over her, leaving her feeling lost and isolated. The betrayal ignites a fire of anger within her, and the more she thinks about it, the more determined she becomes. She realizes she won't just let this slide. The idea of revenge starts to take shape in her mind. How could she make them pay for the hurt they've caused her? The thought fuels her fury and pushes her into a dark place as she weighs her options. As Sarah struggles to process her feelings, she finds herself torn between her love for Michael and the deep anger at his betrayal. She remembers the life they built together, the moments of happiness, and the trust she placed in him. Yet, the image of him with Rebecca, laughing and sharing secrets, fills her with rage. She realizes that this isn't just a small mistake. It's a deep betrayal that cuts to her core. Sarah feels a growing resolve that she cannot let this go unpunished. She begins to plot her next steps, her mind racing with possibilities of how to expose their affair and make them feel the pain she's enduring. Conflicted between her love and her anger, Sarah steps into a dark emotional space, determined to reclaim her power and not be the victim of this betrayal. The night air feels charged with tension as she prepares to confront the reality of her marriage and the lengths she might go to for revenge. As the reunion continues into Sunday, Sarah's frustration and hurt transform into a fierce determination. After witnessing more secretive glances and laughter between Michael and Rebecca, she feels the weight of betrayal heavy on her chest. No longer willing to be a passive observer, Sarah decides to take matters into her own hands. She vows to make both of them pay for their disloyalty. Fueled by a mix of anger and pain, she begins to meticulously plot her revenge, planning an accident that would expose their affair and humiliate them in front of the family. Sarah spends the morning observing Michael and Rebecca closely, noting their every interaction. She watches as they chat, laugh, and share stories with each other while ignoring her completely. Sarah mentally catalogs their movements, the way Michael often steps away from the family activities to check his phone, how Rebecca lingers at the snack table, and their frequent retreats to the edge of the property, away from prying eyes. She carefully considers how to stage her revenge so that it looks like a harmless accident, but will have a devastating impact. Sarah plans to catch them in a moment of intimacy, perhaps during a family activity like a boat ride or a game on the lawn when everyone is present and engaged. The more witnesses there are, the more humiliating it will be for both Michael and Rebecca. She also takes note of their vulnerabilities. Michael has a tendency to let his guard down when he thinks no one is watching, and Rebecca is overly confident, believing her charm can win anyone over. Sarah devises a plan that will exploit these weaknesses, ensuring that the truth of their affair will come to light at the most embarrassing moment. Despite the storm of emotions brewing inside her, Sarah presents a calm and pleasant front to the family. She greets everyone with a warm smile, engages in conversations, and participates in activities, all while keeping her true feelings hidden. Michael and Rebecca are completely unaware of the turmoil she is planning beneath her cheerful exterior. Throughout Sunday, Sarah expertly masks her anger, making small talk with Michael and even sharing a few laughs with him, pretending everything is perfectly fine. She acts as though she has no idea about their secret connection, fooling them into a false sense of security. The more she smiles and engages, the more they relax, completely unaware of the revenge plot unfolding in her mind. As the day progresses, Sarah feels a sense of control building within her. She knows that she can turn the tide at any moment and expose the truth when the time is right. With each passing hour, she grows more confident in her plan, feeling that justice is within her grasp. As the sun sets on the final evening of the reunion, she prepares for the moment she has been waiting for, ready to make her move and reveal the betrayal to the entire family. On the final night of the family reunion, Sarah decides it's time to confront Michael and Rebecca about what she believes is going on between them. She invites them to a secluded spot by the lake, telling them it's a surprise she has planned for the evening. As they walk to the secluded area, Sarah's heart races. She has spent the whole weekend trying to convince herself that her suspicions are unfounded, but she can no longer ignore the truths she feels deep down. The quiet of the lake amplifies the tension, and she can feel the weight of the moment as they reach the water's edge. Once they're there, Sarah takes a deep breath, her emotions bubbling to the surface. "I know everything," she suddenly exclaims, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. Michael and Rebecca look taken aback, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern. Sarah pulls out her phone, showing them a recording she made earlier that day when she overheard them talking in the house. "I heard you, Michael. I heard you both." Sarah's voice cracks as she fights back tears. "You think I didn't notice how close you've been? How you've been flirting right in front of me?" Michael's face pales as he stutters. "Sarah, it's not what you think. We were just talking. He tries to downplay the situation, but Sarah can see the guilt in his eyes. Rebecca, trying to regain control, steps in with a calm but authoritative tone. Sarah, let's not jump to conclusions. This isn't the time or place for accusations. We're all friends here. But Sarah is no longer willing to listen. The betrayal feels like a knife in her heart, and she lashes out, fueled by a mix of rage and despair. Friends? Is that what you call this? You've both been lying to me, and now it's time for the truth. As the confrontation heats up, Michael raises his voice, insisting that Sarah is overreacting. But Sarah is past reasoning. She's consumed by her feelings of betrayal and anger. You think I would just sit back and let you both walk all over me? She shouts, her voice echoing off the water. Rebecca tries to calm the situation, but Sarah is done being placated. You want to know what I think? I think you both deserve to feel the pain you've caused me. The tension rises, and an argument breaks out. The words fly like daggers, each accusation escalating the confrontation. In the heat of the moment, Sarah feels a surge of adrenaline and determination. Suddenly, things turn physical as Michael steps closer to defend himself, and Sarah shoves him back. The three of them struggle, emotions boiling over. In a moment of chaos, Sarah shoves Michael hard, and he stumbles backward toward the edge of the lake. Rebecca, trying to grab hold of him to stop the fall, slips as well, losing her balance. In a tragic twist, both Michael and Rebecca tumble into the dark. Sarah watches in shock as they splash down, her heart pounding. For a brief moment, silence falls over the scene, the only sound being the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore. But as the moments pass, and neither of them resurfaces, a wave of panic crashes over Sarah. What have I done? She whispers, the reality of the situation dawning on her. The anger that once fueled her confrontation is replaced with a chilling dread. She rushes to the edge of the lake, her heart racing as she searches for any sign of them. But the surface remains still, with no signs of movement. As fear grips her, Sarah realizes that the outcome of this confrontation has crossed a line she can never uncross. In the stillness of the night, with the weight of her actions sinking in, she is left alone by the lake, haunted by the deadly choices she has made. As the reality of what she has done sinks in, Sarah is overwhelmed by a mix of emotions, fear, guilt, and a strange sense of relief. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily on her, but she knows she needs to act quickly. Taking a deep breath, she steels herself, forcing her mind to focus on what she needs to do next. She feels a surge of adrenaline, pushing her to think clearly despite the chaos around her. Sarah steps back and surveys the area where the tragic event occurred. She carefully examines the surroundings, her mind racing with how to craft the perfect narrative of an accident. First, she makes sure to scatter Michael and Rebecca's belongings, discarded clothes, a half-empty bottle of wine, and a few personal items that can easily be mistaken as having belonged to both of them. She deliberately places these items near the edge of the lake, creating the impression that they were drinking together and moved closer to the water. Next, Sarah moves to the lake itself. She notices a couple of empty cups that had been left on a nearby picnic table and brings them closer to the water's edge. She spills the remaining contents of the wine bottle onto the ground, making it look like a drunken celebration that turned into a tragic accident. To further manipulate the scene, she throws some of their discarded clothing into the water, allowing them to float slightly, as if they were carelessly discarded during a night of fun. After meticulously staging the scene, she steps back and takes a moment to look at her work. Everything appears convincingly chaotic and disorganized, hinting at a night gone wrong. Sarah hopes this will create the illusion that Michael and Rebecca had been intoxicated, having slipped into the lake while alone together, tragically drowning without anyone noticing. Once she feels satisfied with the scene she has created, Sarah knows it's time to leave the reunion. She quietly packs her belongings, moving swiftly and purposefully, trying not to draw attention to herself. Despite the emotional turmoil swirling inside her, she maintains a calm exterior, convincing herself that this is the best choice she could make. As she drives away from the lakeside vacation home, a mixture of devastation and relief washes over her. She is heartbroken over what has happened, the loss of her husband, and the betrayal that had unfolded, but she also feels a sense of freedom. The weight of Michael's infidelity and Rebecca's betrayal has been lifted, and she is determined to carry on with her life without them. With every mile that takes her further away from the reunion, Sarah finds a strange sense of resolve. She is leaving behind the chaos, the betrayal, and the painful memories. She is moving toward a future where she can reclaim her independence and rebuild her life. Though her heart is heavy, she knows that she must focus on herself now, no matter the cost of the choices she has made. Weeks have passed since the family reunion that spiraled into tragedy. The initial shock of the events has faded. A police investigation is in full swing, probing into the mysterious deaths of Michael and Rebecca. In the quiet of the night, one of Sarah's relatives, Michael's younger sister, Jess, finds herself unable to sleep. The weight of the recent events and the ensuing chaos keeps her tossing and turning in bed, replaying the night of the reunion in her mind. As Jess lies there, the haunting memories flood back. She recalls hearing raised voices coming from the deck late that night, just before the chaos erupted. Curiosity piqued. She'd gotten up to investigate, finding a secluded spot behind a set of trees where she could observe without being seen. There, she witnessed a confrontation between Sarah and Rebecca, a heated exchange filled with accusation and emotion. Jess could hear snippets of their argument, the tension palpable in the air. She sees Sarah's face twisted with anger and hurt, and Rebecca standing her ground, confident yet dismissive. Suddenly, Jess hears a loud crash, the unmistakable sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Startled, she steps back, her heart racing. Before she can process what happened, she turns and retreats back to the house, leaving the confrontation behind her, her mind racing with confusion and fear. Driven by a mix of guilt and a sense of responsibility, Jess eventually decides to speak up. At the police station, she nervously tells the detectives about the argument she witnessed. Her testimony becomes a key piece of evidence, leading investigators to delve deeper into Sarah's involvement in the tragic events. As the investigation unfolds, disturbing details come to light. The police find out about Sarah's motive, her deep-seated anger towards both Michael and Rebecca for their betrayal. They uncover messages on Michael's phone that reveal the affair was more serious than Sarah ever realized. The story begins to paint Sarah in a darker light, suggesting that she might have acted out of passion during that fateful night. With Jess's account and mounting evidence, the case takes a significant turn. Sarah finds herself facing both public scrutiny and legal consequences. Friends and family, once supportive, are now questioning her character, whispering about her potential involvement in the deaths of her husband and boss. Social media buzzes with speculation, painting Sarah as the vengeful wife who lost control. In a stark, sterile interrogation room, Sarah sits alone, her mind racing. The walls seem to close in around her as the reality of her situation sinks in. The weight of her actions, born from a moment of betrayal and rage, is crashing down on her. She thought she was justified in her revenge, but now she wonders if it was worth it. As the detective enters the room, Sarah can feel the tension in the air. The questions they ask pierce through her defenses, forcing her to confront the truth of what happened that night. The interrogation feels endless, each moment stretching out as she grapples with her feelings of regret and the consequences of her choices. A chilling silence envelops the room as Sarah's eyes dart around, trying to find a way out. In that moment, she realizes the magnitude of her actions, how they not only shattered her life, but also affected everyone she loved. The question hangs heavy in the air. Was revenge worth the price? The audience is left with this unsettling dilemma, unsure of what will happen next, and whether Sarah will be able to reconcile with her past or face the darkness that now looms over her future.